Well, good afternoon and welcome up to our table talk, Level Up. My name is Chip Mitchell. I serve as the host here along with my hero, my great friend, Mel Wells from One Day at a Time. ODAT Nation is with us. It's great to be gathered together again this week with you, my brother Mel. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, Chip. Good afternoon to everybody that's out there. We hope people can share, because we're, to be honest with y'all, we're a little overwhelmed today, Chip. I know you know that it's about me, even with you, right? We tired of the murders going on in our city. We know that we have so many different issues in our city: poverty, HIV, homicide rate, COVID. COVID's here right now too. And we come on this platform to figure out a way, not to talk about it, but to be about it. So I look forward to our guests in a way we're going to walk away with some action items today, bro. So I really look towards you to lead this out for us today. So I'm excited.
Hey, Mel. Well, I'm always willing, ready to talk, and
I knew that.
the issues we bring to the table today are absolutely fantastic. But as you mentioned, obviously with the murders that are happening in Philadelphia, especially over the weekend and even last night, we're going to just take a few seconds to have a moment of silence so that we can meditate and call on God to help bring comfort and change to our community and the families that have been affected. Let's take a moment of silence.
Thank you, bro.
Well, thank you for joining with us in a moment of silence. We have to be vigilant about our community and the families, and we've got to wrap our arms around the families that have been tragically affected by the things. And I think what Mel said is so true. We've got HIV and AIDS and poverty, a trifecta that's attacking our community. And I think if we put ourselves together in love, because love binds everything together, I believe we can change. Well, why don't we go ahead and begin introducing our guests today on Level Up and have them introduce themselves. Why don't we go ahead and start with John? John, why don't you come on in? Hey, John, it's good to see you, John. Why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself? Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
So my name is John Solomon. I represent, along with Rob Schuler, an organization called Endangered Kind. I was born in North Philadelphia, 24th and Somerset to be exact. I was raised around environments where it wasn't the safest. So I grew up around gun violence and drug dealing and things like that. I didn't really have a lot of male leadership in my life. So, as I'm growing up in these neighborhoods, I'm being exposed to things that had an impact on how I looked at life. So around the age of about 13 or 14 or so, I found myself involved in gun violence. Age 15, I was shot as a result of going to war with another group of guys that didn't live too far from me. Same year, I watched a close friend of mine get killed in front of me. Um, 17 years old, I spent about 10 months of placement for a firearm. I graduated that same year. 3 months after coming home from placement, I was arrested with another firearm, as well as attempted murder. As a result, I spent about 5 years in prison. Obviously, during my incarceration, I turned my life around, and went on this new journey of, developing myself and learning how to be a leader, learning from all the things that I did wrong that I had to work on moving forward. And I did that for many years. I came home back in 2015. Um, Within the same year, I found myself getting involved in gun violence. I didn't plan for it to happen, but it's just kind of how my life went. Um, that same exact year, I helped establish an organization called Endangered Kind. Endangered Kind is a mobile advocacy organization in Philadelphia that is helping local communities shift the narrative and impact of gun violence by engaging high-risk youth and young adults. Me, along with Rob Schuler, who I just mentioned, we've been very effective at um, outreach throughout the city and connected with individuals that are considered high risk, so we can put them in front of people such as yourselves and other services and people of influence that can help them transition into a life where violence isn't an everyday thing. So it's kind of like who I am as a person and a leader in the city of Philadelphia.
Come on, John. Come on, John. I love hearing your story, man. I love your passion, your convictions, and I totally love the work that you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's bring on Rob as well.
What's up, y'all?
Hey.
Me and John together. Hold on, we're trying.
Okay, no problem. I think you're good.
All right, I'm good now. How y'all doing? I'm Rob Schuler. I'm also from North Philadelphia. I work with Endangered Kind along with John Solomon. I'm a urban nightlife promoter, and I do it at a pretty high level and socialite and influencer in the city or amongst the tri-state. And I'm pretty much here to use my influence for something more than just parties and for something bigger now. And I'm an on the ground leader with John. And we actually had been, like he said, effective with going and actually talking to the high risk young adults and youth and people that's actually getting into stuff and having these issues. And we just trying to help figure out their needs and what they wants are, or anything we could do to probably just prevent something from happening instead of just getting the call afterwards. And that's pretty much my mission and what I'm here for.
Rob, thank you for taking my call today. And I know me and you and Chip and the team here, we're going to be trying to work on some entertainment to go live and do something to show love to our cities. And again, I appreciate you and John doing the work you do. And I told Chip this morning, man, we especially shout out, man, to just the moms who have to yell out that their baby is gone. And that mom that did it last night, and for the mom that did it today, we're doing this for you. Thank you.
Yeah. One of my little guys in my cousin restaurant, he actually was murdered last night in West Philadelphia, 55th Street.
It's so weird. Sometimes we know the same people, so we'll talk a lot.
I mean, that may be, yeah. All right, well, let's bring on Cordell.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cordell Williams. I am also from the streets of North Philadelphia. Right now I'm currently a social worker with an organization called Episcopal Community Services. In that capacity, I am what you call an opportunity development coach. But if we go back, I come from the same streets of North Philadelphia as Mel Wells. Me and Mel Wells actually grew up together. I've known Mel Wells since I was 9 years old. So if you know anything about Mel's backstory, you can somewhat imagine what my backstory was like. So just briefly, I grew up in the streets of North Philadelphia. My first love, my first addiction was the streets, the money, the drug life, that lifestyle. And then it quickly evolved into, toting guns and being the individuals whom we are trying to reach right now. Like I was that guy. I was really that guy. Went to jail several different times. The penitentiary between county and state has over 22 years of my life, and I'm only 49. So between those two places, once my last incarceration, I came home and I decided that, I needed to get a job to see what working feels like. And it wasn't working out for me because of my record, and so what happened was I wound up, having to make a decision. So I had to make a decision whether I wanted to save my ass or save my face. And, I needed to save my ass, right? I didn't care what it looked like to anybody else out there. I knew that I needed to do something that was going to benefit my family in the long run and benefit myself. I also struggled with drug addiction all during that time. At that particular time, I went to college, got a college degree. Now put me in a space where a lot of things became more apparent to me. So now, in my capacity I went to the degree, got a degree in social work. Now, my first focus was actually youth work. I worked with several different organizations in South Philadelphia. I worked with another organization in North Philadelphia also. And I shifted and I tried different various demographics to work with. But my main focus has always been youth work, because my idea was that if I could reach them before they get to the point that I was at. And I got to that point pretty early. I got to the point, I was on the streets at 14 years old. So at that early age, trying to reach back and go into youth study center, St. Gabe's, and all those places, and trying to talk to those young guys to give them some insight of where this street life will lead them if they continue to traverse down that path. Right now, I'm currently hosting a it launches this week. Next week, actually, my podcast called Real G Talk. And I'm also a entrepreneur, so I have several different irons in the fire with, so far as investing and also network marketing and things of that nature. So I'm doing a lot of things, but my main focus really in life is to give back and come back to my community. I don't live in Philadelphia. I live in Lower Marion now, but come back to my community and help those, get with Mel Wells, get with Rob Schuler, get with John, and see how can I lend my services and understanding the psyche of thinking when it comes to working with individuals. Because sometimes our street knowledge is only going to get us with so much. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper.
Come on.
With educational and that we're trying to address, because that's what we're trying to address. So that is why I'm always here each and every Thursday, because I want to know where I can lend my hand to all these gentlemen you see on the screen today.
Come on,
Cordell.
Cordell.
If I may say it before we bring in the next person, Cordell, I love you. Not enough men out there saying they love each other that came through the storm. Me and Cordell, and I believe this is God, Cordell, right? You Muslim, I'm a Christian, right? That we alive today. We know we skipped that graveyard by God's grace. And we trying here today to stop somebody from going to that graveyard or to that jail. So thanks, bro. Love you.
Yeah, just one more thing. I am Muslim, and I'm also on the Janazah committee. So I want you to understand, guys, how many calls I get to go wash little brothers' bodies within a month. Within a month, how many calls I get to come and wash a body.
And Cordell, and I'm going to keep it real as Chip bringing in the next person. So if you see us, family out here who watching us shed a tear, it's because we working for real. And we seeing family members and friends, church members, people at the masjid, people watching their own bodies. We tired of living in this nightmare. Go ahead, Chip.
Come on. Well, I appreciate it, Cordell, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And I love hearing your story as well. Let's bring on the Queen, Wuha, as Mel may call her. Let's bring her on. Good afternoon.
Can you hear? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Hello, good afternoon.
It's your world. Good afternoon.
My name is Sahira Fortune on Voices by Choices. I'm here today because I lost my son in 2017 to gun violence. And I'm my son's voice and all the rest of the children that has lost their son. I have an organization called Voices by Choices, which I have about 30 mothers that all lost children to gun violence. What Voices by Choices do, we all meet up. We have different events. Because it's all mothers that lost children to gun violence. I have events. I have back to school drives. Right now, I just started a podcast called Our Fallen Angels. I feel as though I needed to start something for a connection so it could get out there so people could start seeing it. I had about 30 children on my board when I started off. Right now, I have 80 children. I have 3 boards. I started off with 1 board. The board have grown. I'll be starting a podcast back next month. And it's me and another mother that lost her son, Sharon King. She lost her son in 2018. And we both are connected. We both came up with that idea about doing a podcast. So on a podcast, we have different things. We have therapists coming on, different guest speakers coming on, addressing the gun violence, about what's going on. We got mothers that's coming on talking about how I feel grieving, how I feel to lose a child. So I'm one of the mothers that's out here fighting for mothers that don't have a voice and mothers that don't have the strength and the willpower like me to be out here to fight against this gun violence, because we have to fight against this gun violence. The gun violence is taking control. And I'm also fighting and I'm working in my community, because besides me and Mel, we the only ones doing something in my community. Right now, my goal is to we need a center in my community. That's something, you know, I'm be talking to Mel about. That's something that I'm trying to get, because every year I be working with different children. I be working with different children. I have like a group of children where during the summer I do different affairs like skating events, different stuff for the children. And I need like a stable place for the children to go, you know, Like they looking forward to me. Like this summer, they like, well, what we doing? You having a skating party? You having this next door? I've been having my events next door to my mom's lot, which I want to continue it, but it's really not safe out here. Like, what do? You know, because all the gun violence is going on. So I've been like second guessing. Like, I really want to have it. It's been going fabulous. It's been going. I have like art day for the kids with a clown and stuff come. Families be connected. Them kids, they need that outreach, because nobody in my community besides Mel is doing anything. And when I say my community, I'm from 18th and Cumberland, you know, and I'm fighting in my community. Even though my son, he was killed up West Oak Lane, but my son was from 18th and Cumberland. He wasn't from West Oak Lane, but I'm fighting in my community with working with the kids, you know, with these mothers. And like I said, what I was telling you earlier, Chip, I'm having a dinner for the mothers next week. The reason why I'm having a dinner, because we're coming closer to Mother's Day. Mother's Day is the worstest time for a parent that lost a child. Like May, I be real shut down. So for the last 3 years, I've been doing something right before Mother's Day. The first thing I had for mothers, it was a paint with a twist. They loved it. So every year they're looking forward to this event next Saturday. I have 35 mothers that will be at this event. I also have two guests that's going to be there, which I have one young man. He's going to be singing. Another young lady, she's going to be praise dancing, because I want to see if I could get these young people attention. They see a young man that's singing, maybe, you know what I mean? They need to hear this. See this, because it's not a game. And like I tell them all the time, when you lost a child, it's very hard. I can't even explain, but I'm glad God is able to give me the strength and the willpower to get through. And this helped me through my grieving process. I got a lot of mothers that depend on me, and I say it all the time, because I made strength and I made backbone. And I always say, who can I lean on? Nobody but God. God gets through this. God, the only one. I pray 24 hours a day. Just had the situation last week. I was shut down, and I was so shut down to my mind was racing. I'm like, should I continue to do what I'm doing? Yeah, I'm gonna continue to do it, because this one then ain't gonna stop me, because I'm my son's voice. And that's why I started Voices by Choices, because I say our children had a voice and they never had a choice. Our children, not just about my son, it's about everybody. You have everybody. So that's where I'm at. I'm fighting against the gun violence. I'm fighting for the mothers that lost the children, and I'm fighting for better. I'm fighting for a change. Whatever I gotta do to make a change, whatever little difference, and what I'm doing now is helping. You know, they see it. So this is what I like to do, and this is what I want to do, and this helped me through my grieving process. And people don't know, when you hanging around other mothers, that's a connection that you have. You understand? I have a mother that just connected with me. She told me she lost her son 6 years ago. She just started connecting with me, because she called. She said, Tahira, I feel your spirit. I have to come out this shell. I've been looking at you, watching. So people out there watching me. What I'm doing. So I want to continue to fight this battle. You know, this battle, I want to continue to do what I'm doing. I want to continue to work in my community with the kids, work with the mothers that lost their children to gun violence. I want to continue to go out there every other Sunday. I thought of that, me and Sharon King, every other Sunday, I'm going out to mother houses. Do you know they be happy? And they said they don't see that. Nobody's going out. They love that I was coming out, bringing a card. So when I goes out to the house, I bring like a card and a little gift I would take to the mother, just to make them feel a little better. And they've been happy. I done visit 30 mothers all over, from Southwest Philly, North Philly, all over. We just picked. I got a whole DM full of mothers that's looking forward to me coming to see them, you know, that I don't even know. But we connected in some type of way, because we lost our children to gun violence.
Come on, Tahira. Well, I got to tell you, your work is outstanding. You know, you venture into these places that no one can do but someone who's been through it. And I want to tell all of it, you know, everybody has a story, no matter what your story is. It's not about whose story is more tragic. Everybody has a story. And God is using each of you individually to reach out and touch that one person that's out there that's listening, because somebody is hearing your story. Somebody is hearing your situation, and it's transforming who they are. And it really is a challenging situation that we're facing, but I think our collective stories make the difference. And our next guest, I'm going to introduce. Oh, Chris is with us today. Oh, okay, Chris. Hey, Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself before I introduce our guest speaker?
I know we got to get to Kevin, our special guest, who really going to help us out today. Chris King, I was watching Wild 'N Out last night, and then I had to see you in the audience, and then you got up and did your thing on Wild 'N Out. So that's awesome. But going back to my sister, before we move on to Chris introducing himself, who call me in the morning. You know, I don't have my hands on the recreation center on 15th New York, but I'm going to take my time in the morning to make sure I connect you to get you the days you need for that center. You know, they kind of took that away from me. But what I did just do was purchase, I have the first floor of my entire office now in the second floor, and I will make sure you have space in there too. So I don't want to talk about it, I want to be about it. Let's roll to my man, Chris. What's up, bro?
Hey, Chris, it's good to have you. Unmute yourself, Chris.
I said, all love, bros. Y'all know I'm on the West Coast, man, so I be tapping in from a West Coast time, man.
Hey, and we appreciate it, Chris. It's so good to see you.
I know last week I ain't get to say nothing. I just showed my face, you know what I mean? I know y'all can't see me because I'm out the darkest one on here, me and Rob, but it's all good. We'll work through it.
Hey, many years ago, you couldn't say you were dark. That wasn't cool till Michael Jordan, but now he's made it cool.
Yeah, I'm the new Jordan. Actually, I just did a Jordan feeling. I'm playing Michael Jordan shadow.
Pippen. I'm Jordan Pippen.
I'm rolling with y'all though, but I would say, Rob, I'm waiting so man you can throw a big giant comedy show in the city, something epic.
See, Rob, we talked about this morning, so I know we got to keep rolling. But Rob, remember we talked about getting Chris involved. I defer back to the boss man, Chip.
Well, awesome. We'll make sure that happens. Well, I want to introduce our guest this week. His name is Kevin Mitchell. Kevin and I go way back to the days of the University of Massachusetts. Back in 1985-86 is when I first met Kevin. And Kevin has had the opportunity to be involved in a host of many incredible things when you look at it on the outside. But as you can see, something of great value is the work that we're doing right here. And Kevin has decided to join us. And Kevin has done some of the biggest names in entertainment, and he has involved himself on that level. I'll get him to share a little bit about it, but then he's also at the forefront of cutting industry in the esports industry and what's happening. Kevin also is teaches at a college, Emerson College in New England. So we've got a true professor with us today. Kevin, I'm so glad that you joined us. Welcome to our Level Up and Huddle Up. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Shout out to Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. I got a special place in my heart for Philly, so I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, well, Kev, it's great to have you. I know you got a busy schedule. Kev, I thought it'd be great for our panel and even our listeners for you to just kind of first just walk through your career path after college, the different things that you've been involved in. I know you're a very humble man, but our listeners would love to hear just your career path, where you started, what you got yourself involved in, and where you're currently here, and then we'll jump onto some other matters.
Okay, yeah. I could be here for 2 hours really talking about all the details, but I guess you could say I was one of those guys who turned my passion for hip hop into a career. You know, started out DJing in college. That led to me getting an internship with Def Jam. And I did a semester abroad over in England and worked in the Def Jam office, came back, interned in the office, and really just got like a crazy deep dive working with all the senior management and Russell and Lior and all those guys. And then after college, my first job was really doing Mid-Atlantic regional promotions. So I was in charge of everything from DC, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland. That's when BET was in DC. So any Def Jam act or any act that came from Rush Management, which was Russell's company, which had Will Smith, you know, Rakim, KMD. I mean, I could go on forever. Public Enemy, just all the top acts in hip hop. Really, that was kind of like my heart for hip hop. I really got to like dig in and work with all the black colleges, all the black radio, and learning from the best. Matter of fact, this kid Kevin Lyles, well, he ain't a kid now, but he was my intern when I worked out there. And yeah, I started a program at Howard University, just being in DC, and I started to train kids on how to get in the music business. And a couple of them ended up, Young Guru, he was in that program. Another dude, Sidney Markinson, who's been in Atlantic Records 25 years, he's in that program. And so I started to really understand the importance of giving back, as I, matriculated through my career. And then, fast forward, then I became a national director of street promotions and mix show DJ. So I was the guy that really started the records off all over the country, because it would all start with the mix shows and in the streets. So I was the guy when Def Jam first started doing, West Coast music. I was the guy in the van loading up, gang members and driving from San Diego to Seattle in a van, stopping city to city, record store to record store, and just really understanding the terrain. And fortunately, I grew up in the suburbs in Massachusetts, and I really didn't have the type of exposure that everyone had in terms of violence. So my first introduction was my first day on the job and having to go to Compton and pick up these artists and seeing green grass in neighborhoods. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. This don't look so bad. And these dudes happen to come from Southside Crips, the same gang that ended up killing Pac and all the gang wars. So they gave me a deep dive on how to, survive on the streets. I learned how to read gang graffiti, how to, negotiate with people to make sure that I could show up places and watch my back and stuff like that. So that whole experience was incredible. After Def Jam, I started managing. I managed this dude, Easy Mo B, who did Tupac, Biggie. He was, pretty much neck and neck with Dr. Dre at one point. He wasn't as well known, but he did Flavor in Your Ear for Craig Mack. He did 8 songs on Biggie's first album, going back to Cali, all those records. So that was a great experience, which introduced me to everybody in the industry, because at the time he was hot as fish grease, just everybody coming to him for records and stuff like that. Through that connection, I met Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq wanted to start a record label after that first Fusion Kin album, and he asked me to help him. So I helped him out. So his album, You Can't Stop the Rain, I was pretty much like his A&R production, promotions, his advisor. So I basically got, different writers and people to, come perform with him. Work, Orlando, Orlando transition to LA. I went with him then. And I had to do everything like put his album together. So we had Nas, Jay-Z, Biggie, Mobb Deep, Rakim, Fat Joe, Pun, and all the producers. I was the guy that was pretty much coordinating it all. And while Shaq was practicing, I had people basically writing his lyrics. So I had these 2 dudes. One of them was a street legend in New York at the time, a dude named Lord Tariq, who was one of the writers. And his brother-in-law, this unknown dude named Peter Guns, who would come in and we would basically write Shaq's lyrics, because Shaq was nice, but he was not that talented with writing. So we used to be like, nah, bro, you can't do that, and rewrite all his songs and stuff like that. So while we were in the studio, we had a lot of downtime. So we recorded a couple of records, and one of them happened to be real hot. It was called Deja Vu. This was Peter and Tariq. And we gave it to a lot of, different record labels and said, hey, this is a hot record. Everybody turned us down and said it was trash, including Shaq, except for Irv Gotti. He was the only one that thought the record was any good, but he kind of had a crazy attitude, and I didn't feel like putting my life in his hands. So I put the record out independently, out my trunk. I was living in Jersey City at the time. And all of a sudden, because of my connections to Def Jam, the record popped off. We hit #1 in LA, New York, Atlanta. Then I did a big deal with Columbia Records. We ended up winning the Billboard Award that year. It was the top rap single airplay and sales in the country. We lost the Grammys to Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri, Money Ain't a Thing. Then the guys fell apart. Then I moved on. I kept, managing and helping. I did a lot of consulting with professional athletes on, running their record labels. Then after that, I found this kid in Baltimore named B Rich. He had this one hit called Whoa Now. That was the Jefferson theme. and that popped off, and that hit #1 on the rap chart. So that was a cool experience. Then I found a group out of Kentucky called Nappy Roots that needed a manager. I thought that their sound was incredible. They were doing everything different than the traditional Southern rappers. So I started managing them, and I kind of skipped over an important piece because it's related to Philadelphia. My first client when I left Def Jam as a consultant was a label called Geffen Records. Geffen was like a rock label, but they were going to sign this hip hop band from Philadelphia called The Roots. So they needed somebody to run that whole R&B rap division. So that was me. So I spent countless hours driving from New York to Philly. It would take me a whole day to pick up the group and drive them around. I was their first promotion guy, all the way up and down the East Coast, West Coast, just breaking them, getting them out there. Still tight with them to this day.
Come on.
That's where the Philly connection really started. I mean, aside from the pen relays and the Greek picnics and all that, after that, Nappy Roots did real well, Grammy nomination, things like that. They fell apart. Then I found another kid, got him signed to Shady Records. And at that point, I saw music starting to change and how the technology was really coming in, and it was going to change the whole landscape. And my artist was a guy named Bobby Creekwater. He got brand new. As soon as we signed to Shady Records, we're on tour with 50 and M, and all of a sudden he don't want to record. He don't know nobody. He's bigger than everybody. And I just said to myself, I'm Bill Belichick with no Brady. I'm Phil Jackson without Jordan. I can't do this because I got the talent, but I didn't, find a good way to connect with the right people. So I started to do consulting. I started putting songs in movies like Training Day, Friday After Next, doing all that stuff, Drumline, and putting songs in video games and stuff like that. Then I started just consulting because I knew so much information just from working in all these different spaces. And I had a dude who came to me who was working with a Boston Celtic named Eric Williams. And he was a white dude who was, coming from an affluent background. And he asked me to help Eric. I helped him. And he was like, look, I'd love for you to help my family. You got a lot of, good skills and things like that. And he never told me who he was, but he invited me to the VMAs. So I ended up going to the VMAs, and I'm like, this dude, as soon as I get there, he gives me an all access pass and he's taking me around. And I'm like, who is this guy? And we walking backstage, meeting people. And then he tells me, oh, my family owns Viacom and CBS. We billionaires and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right. And like, hey, do you want to come help us? They were based in Boston. So I joined their team, worked there for 9 years. And my job was basically advising these rich white folks who were very, very good to me. They sent me back to school, paid for all kinds of stuff, gave me opportunities that nobody else had. But I had to advise a billionaire on, hey, these are the trends that are happening. This is what's happening in the streets. This is what's happening with technology. Don't do this, don't do that. And that was my job that I created just from getting the right access, So I was able to use my brain to take those skills to the next level, similar to a dude on the streets that might be hustling. I have no doubt if he had the right opportunity, he could run a corporation because it's the same thing. It's management, it's supply chain, products, making sure you're doing marketing and outreach. So it's really just, taking the same skills that we've learned as African Americans and coming up 400 years of making everybody else rich. It's applying those skills to, conventional society and things like that. So, right around 2015, I started to dig into gaming because, the boss was like, look, I'm starting to dump a lot of money into video gaming. It's becoming a professional industry. I need to be on it. So I started to do research and I saw like over in Asia, people was filling up arenas and going crazy over esports and gaming. And I said, there's a $200 billion industry and Black folks is gaming. Everybody's gaming. I need to really understand this space. So I started to invest and really dig in. And that's what led to me becoming a professor. So I became one of the first 10 esports professors in the country. And I never really intended to do it, but it was, for me, it was, hey, I got a way to now learn about the business and also train people to try to help me build an empire because I knew I couldn't do it on my own. So that was my, my approach to that. And then eventually, once COVID hit, when I really started to sit back and think about life and looking at society and all these things, And I really had a deep reflection, especially on my role in hip hop. Like my job was on the front lines promoting records. And I saw what the music did to influence gang culture, taking it from LA and translating it all across the US. And I saw my role in promoting that music, and it really started to, be disturbing to see that whole prison pipeline and all the imagery and the perspective of, African Americans towards each other, because really the root of Black violence is just that self-worth, is really understanding the value of Black life. And if anybody wants to understand that, how do you treat white folks? You treat them with respect. If you try to do anything, that the law is going to come down on you. I just want Black folks to look at each other and have that same love and embrace and feel like, hey, you know what? I need to embrace this individual. I can handle conflict. I've seen other races, Jewish Americans, whatever, they got beef. It don't matter. They making money. They still making money, and they'll talk crap about each other, hate each other, but they still making money at the end of the day. So my give back, through gaming is try to use gaming to empower our community. I'm doing stuff all over the world, Africa, Brazil, India, and show kids that, hey, the technology that's in gaming, you could be a part of that. When you see players in Madden, aside from you and your man's playing, artificial intelligence controls those players. There's coding needed to run these games. There's sales channel, there's marketing, there's skills that you can apply, have fun, but be a part of the economy, doing things that you love. It's a $200 billion industry that you could be a part of if you just understand how to get in and the full value of it. And changing that whole perspective of professional Black athletes just making money here and there, and everybody else really making the big money and changing that landscape. So that's my mission, really, is to help give back, to try to empower our people economically, to help change the negative images and TV about African Americans, our culture, our worth, our history, connect the diaspora, taking Africa, because Africa has the same problem. You know what I'm saying? And connect us all and really just be mindful of it all and try to build the cooperative, relationship and help change the world. So that's the short version. I'll do the long part two.
That's man.
Kev, I'm just trying to tell you, man, I'm inspired by you. I just think, man, after I graduated, I would hear about your journey, and I was just so proud that I said, oh yeah, I know Kev. And they were like, oh, he's doing this now. And I was like, yeah, I know Kev. And I appreciate you joining us. Kev, when you think about if there were some guiding principles throughout your career as far as your work ethic or characteristics, what are some things that really stood out that you feel like we can all capitalize on?
I think the first thing really started with my grandfather. He taught me at a very young age. He's like, look, if you're ever going to do something like work, make sure you do it to the fullest. Be the best. Be there early, leave late, and make sure that if you would ever get fired, you're the last one to go because you know too much. And always treat people with respect from the bottom to the top. There's a dude named G. Robeson, all right, big music manager. I remember when he couldn't even get in the office. Nobody gave him no love, wouldn't let him come in. I let him come in, play music, whatever, try to help him out, whatever. Dude ended up becoming a manager for Kanye, Drake, Lil Wayne. I called him after 10 years. He got me running on the phone, was like, Kev, what's good? Just like that, because I showed him love. So I think it's ultimately about respecting people, whether they're sweeping the floor or they're handing out money. You got to just have respect for everybody, first and foremost. And the second thing is to really educate yourself, because, when you think about the sneaker industry and music and entertainment, anything that we create value for, if you understand the whole dynamics of how it operates, you can actually play a role in it in some capacity, right? And really looking at, for example, Jay-Z and Nas, they're the master lyricists. And why are they master lyricists? Because they were A students and they would read. And I just wish that they would talk about that side of their life instead of just talking, right? Because that would change lives. Bill Russell, my aunt worked for Bill Russell for 40 years. I had a conversation with him and I said, hey, what was your secret to your success? He said, geometry. I said, he said, understanding angles, all right, we're getting rebounds. So I said, well, damn, if we could teach every athlete about the value of geometry and mathematics, then we could change the landscape, right? So it's really, I guess the lesson is to just understand that you don't have to just be a consumer, right? You can be a part of a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem if you just put your mind to it. There's enough education through YouTube that's free to put you in the same level as Harvard and MIT or wherever, right? You can get that free if you ask for it, right? Or look for it, I should say. But really just respecting people, try to have good values, and try to empower your community. Don't be that guy that gets mad when you see George Floyd and that whole situation, but then you're going out and then you're putting a bullet in the brother's head without supporting communities. Like, you be that guy. You got to have that same passion for social equity and that vigor for, again, stopping institutional racism. You got to have that towards your own people. It's got to start somewhere. So those are my principles.
Wow.
So,
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I want to jump in here, bro. Man, amazing work. What I respect about you is your hustle. On the streets, a lot of us believe that's just selling drugs, and that's not selling drugs. But I want to ask you, because this in the city of Philadelphia, a lot of people are looking for funding, they're looking for resources, and a lot of people up here playing the blame game, saying, I can't help nobody because I don't have no money, I don't have no resources. What did you have to get started? How did you get started? So you started meeting millionaires, billionaires, and you want a whole nother level, managing rap groups and everything. What helped you get started, bro? Help me out here.
Well, honestly, it's a challenge that even I still face, like even knowing billionaires and things like that, I'm going to get scrutinized 10 times harder than the next guy. So for me, and I go back to my grandfather where, he had multiple jobs and he hustled and he diversified everything he did. So if he was picking, blueberries one day, he was cutting wood the next day and trying to, hustle to make money and basically be on a parallel track where you're trying to identify different opportunities. And when I say diversifying it could be, hey, I'm going to sell t-shirts. Hey, I'm going to sell waters outside of the park. Hey, I'm going to look at, collecting, old trash that could be sold and repurposed, and looking at multiple ways to make money and try to get it on your own, but also look into the resources that's available. I'll give you an example, the Small Business Administration, right? Any business that you want to start or any kind of like situation, you go there, then people will tell you everything that you have to do that, to set up the business, to find money, to get funding. Things like, for example, every local city, every school, whatever, they buy supplies. They buy pen, paper, toilet paper, spray, whatever. 10% of that money has to go to a minority company, right? You get the computer, you get the bid, you literally don't even have to touch the product. You order it from here, right? And it gets shipped directly to the city, and then you get the bag. So it's understanding the resources.
I want to make sure I'm hearing this right, Kim. I'm not trying to cut you off because I want to get to it. You got started without money. Some of you got started with passion before the money.
Yeah, well, to repeat, everybody on me, I use motion, took that money, flipped it, did the same thing over and over. Half the records I gave it out.
Motion. Yeah, I jump in and out. I want to hear what we saying. We talking about flipping dollars, right? Flipping money, flipping something positive, not flipping coke on the corner or coke in the traffic. Anywhere in the trap that you can't get out of, whether it's the jail cell or the graveyard. Thanks, Kevin. Let's keep right.
Well, the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point right there, man. It's substituting the substance and something that's going to get you locked up for a product or service. We are consumers. We buy clothing, food, like all these resources. It's channeling it to something legal, right? And going that route. So it's taking that same sensibility. And the way you recruit little soldiers to run a block, you recruit reps to sell your products. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but just taking it away from drugs and violence and putting it to something.
I want to jump on it because I don't want to forget. And I got you, Chip. We get going somewhere, right? Because what happens is in the streets, a lot of leaders, Chris, put your joint on mute, Chris. Put your microphone on mute. A lot of the leaders in the city say, what are we going to do with these boys? What are we going to do with these people in the trap? We can't take them in the trap. Yeah, I look at it different. I believe they have the most power to change, trajectory of our whole entire city because they're the ones running the blocks. People are listening to them. They're taking commands from them. You just ask them in the corporate world or even in City Hall. Because I'm going to tell you why. That was me. So yeah, I own everything. I'm lovely. Go ahead, Chip. Chris,
Chris, if you could mute your call, Chris. Thanks, man. I think one of the things that I'm hearing that you said phenomenal things. First of all, brings tears to my eyes. But when you said changing the mentality from being a consumer, that was huge for me. And I'm trying to figure out how do we help people and I open this up to the whole table. How do we change that mindset of being a consumer? Because, in a consumer, all you're doing is you're just taking up space and you're eating and eating until you die, right? You're eating until you got nothing left. How do we change that mentality with the youth? Because I think we got to start there with the youth. Those are the most impressionable that I believe we can change that mindset. So how do we do that? How do we get folks?
Chip, if I can, I want to ask Kevin, and it's open to everybody, right? Because I hope you can lobby for this and people that can work on this around the world. One thing I do know is about these gaming systems. Our kids sit in front of that all day. That's where it starts at. 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Before they even pick up the gun on the street, they almost train that through watching the game system. Is the gaming industry ever looking at that like a way to try to help prevent some of these things? I know that's not a big marketing money maker, or it could be, but I just want to hear a little. Are they thinking about anything to help us out for all the consumers who do buy that stuff? And then we got school shootings and neighborhood shootings on top of this type of stuff. What you think, bro?
Yeah, and I'll address that. And Chip, remember to bring that back up, what you talked about consumers, and we'll talk about that. But, as far as the gaming industry, right now it's really starting to be addressed. It hasn't in the past because the gaming industry has looked at it like, hey, America, when you look at the stats, it's America with the gun violence problem. It's not the rest of the world. So the gaming industry has been really just, like, hey, it's a reflection of society because, hey, if you watch the prime time, you're going to see guns and violence and all these other things. So they haven't taken responsibility. But now with gaming being tied to education, because, for example, 70% of college gamers are in the STEM field, right? What better way to engage, again, with marketing, with big data, analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all this new emerging tech is inside the game. So it's something that nobody has really paid attention to the impact, like you said, about Call of Duties and all this thing and the effects on violence. And there's studies, and these are things that I'm hoping to help fund to identify the best way to, to solve those issues. But for me, it's, again, interest-based learning, right? For example, I was going to do a project with Discovery. Discovery they sell educational curriculum to cities. They came to entertainment, especially Black entertainment people, and said, hey, a lot of these cities we're selling to are majority people of color. Our content, like, Mutual of Omaha, Wilder, Marlon Perkins, all this old crap ain't appealing to these youth. So I said, hey, you got to take the KRS-One edutainment approach and use things like the sneaker industry to teach. For example, sneaker industry, the designer of the Air Jordan learned how to design that from aeronautics. He looked at a plane and the dimensions of flight, okay? So he used that to learn how to design the sneaker, right?
Wow.
Sourcing the products, the leather and all that. There's a business side of it, okay, that could be applied to mathematics, to writing, to journalism, marketing. Understand the sponsorship thing, how you're driving engagement with customers. The whole project from design all the way to sourcing it in Asia and coming back to the States and applying all the promotional strategy and marketing with Steph Curry and all this and with the colleges and understanding that and putting the STEM and the educational elements to it so that they understand it from a business framework, right? Then they begin to think about it differently, right? So when they're buying them sneakers, they're like, wait a minute, hey, when I look at my value and what I'm putting into it, and once you understand the other side of it, then you're more likely to try to get on that other side of the fence and say, wait a minute, I'm just spending. Let me be a part of this, and let me be a part of it because it's something I like and I want to learn more about. It's the same way with music. Like I said, the biggest crime with Jay-Z and Nas and these guys is that they're not telling people that they read books and they had to learn how to write lyrics.
Yeah, hold up, Kev. I need you to say that again. I want everybody to hear what he said. I want to talk about the grades they got and how they was reading. They educated themselves. I was wondering where all this vocabulary come from, because they got a bigger vocabulary than me. Can you say it again, Kev?
Yes, Jay-Z, Nas, they were A students. I literally did a song with Nas with Shaq, and the whole song was built off a conversation we had 2 hours before that. All right, where we talked about empowerment, and we were standing on his dock in Orlando, and there were alligators in the water, and he talked about the mistakes that he learned bringing his whole crew on tour, spending all his money, not thinking about it right. He put it into the lyrics just like that, man. And it, to me, is one of his best verses you have ever heard in your life. All right. And I said to myself, if kids could just understand, his brain, because his father was a jazz musician.
Yeah.
He's from Queensbridge, but he was educated. Jay-Z, same thing. He was smart, man. I just want them to step it up and say, hey, it's all right to understand literature and books and how to write and communicate, because it's all symbiotic, man.
Wow.
Thank you. You know what, Kev? I say this right here, Kev. I'm not me and Kev gonna be talking the whole time, right? But I used to mentor Meek Mills on his first case when he got out of jail, right? And the one thing I learned about him, he spent a lot of time in those black and white composition books, writing down the stories, writing down the rhymes. Everybody want to love him for his glory, but they don't want to go through the story, bro. And I appreciate you explaining the story of the process. That's it, Chip.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, and you're starting to see like guys like LeBron, where he's investing in schools and things like that. So it all comes down to education. How I got connected with, the Grammy Music Education Coalition was I was committed to helping to try to digitize the process, because they were funding different programs in schools like Strawberry Mansion, and it had 3 or 4. But I said, look, there's thousands of schools that have needs. So you need to think differently and go on digital platforms so you can hit more people, right? And empower more people. Give educators different tools so that they can uplift their programs instead of waiting till you get the money to go to that one place. So it's taking information at scale. And that's one of my goals is I've got this whole project that I haven't launched, but it's called Interblactive. And Interblactive, the whole website is just showing the Black community how to utilize free resources that are on the web that can help them, from healthcare to finance to dealing with family issues to saving money. Everything that anybody needs is free on the web. So I said, hey, I'm going to be the one to help connect people to it so that they can learn how to find things on, like, how do you fix your house? How do you help, mentor your kids? What are different ways I can make money? You can Google 100 ways to make money, and you will find things that you can do right from your house. And it don't have to be substances, and you don't have to kill another Black man to do it.
Kev, let me ask you this question, Kev, if I may. I know that when you're working with those billionaires, right, that's a whole nother level. But really, how do we bridge that gap of connecting and building trust when it comes to working with white America that is very influential? Like, what are some of the pitfalls that we can fall into that prevent us to have access? And when we do have access, excuse me, how do we best make use of those moments when we have those access to white America, like somebody that owns CBS, right? That's a little different. That's like almost owning the color blue, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it starts with the power of belief. When I was in the woods growing up, like I said, on the dirt road, I said to myself, I want to get in the hip hop game. When I heard Planet Rock, all right, and Willamette, Connecticut with my cousin, when I heard that 808s pound, it was so infectious. I said to myself, I'm getting in the game of hip hop, right? And that meant that when I drove to New York and slept in my car because I didn't have a place to stay, I found my parents didn't even know. I would drive to Jersey in a Pathmark and a 24/7 and pop the chair down and just sleep. Go in the office early, go to the YMCA around the corner, freshen up, and I just started working. I was relentless with it. And I said to myself, I'm not going to fail. And I never had any doubt in my mind that I was going to make it. I just had to plot my course. I had to be patient and say, hey, these are the steps I got to take. I'm going to be patient and follow them all. I'm going to hit roadblocks, but I got to keep it moving, right? And that's what I did, and that's how I got in the game, you know. And I think I might have gotten that from my grandfather. He was an immigrant, you know. He worked for the founder of Ocean Spray, and he started as a janitor, right? And then in World War II, when they sent all the white dudes off to fight in the war, he ran the plant because he went there and showed with a 4th grade education, right? He's running the whole plant. They brought a bunch of Nazi POWs up in there to work. He became friends with them. They showed him engineering. And these were dudes that I thought was like Hitler hating black folks. He said the US soldiers treated him worse than that. And they taught him stuff, right? When the white soldiers came back, they broke on him like, yo, we're not working for you. And the owner was like, yes, you are, right? And when they made it too hard for him, he just turned into an entrepreneur and said, you know what? I'm going to take my skills elsewhere. And he ended up dying a millionaire because of property. It wasn't that I had boats and yachts and all that. He started investing in property and all that. He got 40 acres from the dude, the Ocean Spray dude. But he worked it out where he cut wood off it, sold it, and then paid for the land because he built value through that relationship. So
come on, he was not a consumer.
Yeah. So dealing with white folks, I think the first thing is understand what's their motivation. What are they looking for? Right? Understand the preconceived notions. I know that they look at me as a black man and they're threatened. So I completely destabilize that by just coming in and really just asking the right questions. I asked questions and I listened more than I talked, right? In any situations you go into, if you listen, what you're going to say is 10 times smarter than what you would have said if you were the one talking, right? Because you might come in talking and that person might not say what they would have said because you don't ran your mouth and said some other stuff. So it's really understanding that beast. You know, it's just like football. You watch video and you look at playbooks. Corporate America is the same way. What's their motivation? If they're trying to sell, if they're trying to do sales, you figure out how you can bring value and create that opportunity, because once you align with their goals, then you can achieve your goals. And it's really just having that understanding of where to get in. And it's not to say that you're not going to face those obstacles, but the more you know and the more you interact, the better you're conditioned to be able to deal with that, man. It's just like after you play a team, you see how they run the ball, all these things, you know how to adapt, right? And not to, you know, I know it's still a little pain over that Philadelphia, New England back in the day, but you guys avenged that. So let's let that be clear. But remember, you know, with the New England Patriots, right? It's situational. Bill Belichick, he trained about situations. How do you deal with a situation? Because you could learn 1,000 things, right? It's just like that Mike Tyson. Everything's good till you get punched in the mouth. It's how you react to situations, right? Street violence. You got somebody step on your shoe. It's how you react. Is that worth killing or going to jail for? Or can I just say, bruh, watch what you're doing and keep it moving, right? It's about situational awareness and how to react and understand the environment and thinking about the big picture and the outcomes of your decision making. All that applies to anything in life, whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting a job, whether it's a relationship. Understand how to best deal with situations. And that's something that I'm committed to teaching people, because it applies and it can really change lives.
You may not realize.
I'm just trying to tell you, I done went back to school, man. Matter of fact, I might go pledge Kappa now. I thought I wanted to be a Q, but now I think I want to be a Kappa.
I think Chris wanted to say something too. I know we got to watch it. The Kevin is so powerful. I might need Kevin to come back. He got a lot of information.
I'll be back.
Man, I'm following you, bro. I want to become an investor in the gaming industry. So I will be hollering at you. Go ahead, Chris. Chris, you want to say something?
Hey, first and foremost, man, I want to commend you, Kev, man. I salute you, my brother. We need more guys like you on the field. I was over here bobbing my head with you the whole time, because everything you was saying in terms of the history with Nas, Jay, and some of them records that you worked, I just remember that nostalgia. You gave me some nostalgia, you know what I mean, from those times and those fields. Even when you mentioned Mo B name, you feel what I'm saying? I'm very in tune. My uncle was a DJ. He used to be a real DJ, not a digital DJ where you scratch and hide your hand behind a keyboard. You know, a DJ where you have to have your records, your crates, and
Yes,
that's how it introduced me actually to music. I actually got killed some years ago over a cigarette. You know what I mean? But you know, and Mel, what you don't know, that's his uncle's funeral home G Choice next to ODAC all these years.
Wow,
And
wow,
that's
that's
my
big,
family.
yeah. We
But
take a
but
lot of films over there.
going back, touching on what he was saying, the one thing I knew we wasn't gonna like about this guy, Mal, when he said UMass, I started thinking about Temple and UMass days when I was a kid. So that started working my brain a little bit. I had to see where he go. And that last one, when he hit that about the New England thing, I knew he was gonna have something in the water, man. No.
But you got the best of us, though.
But
Hey,
no,
hey,
you so much full of knowledge and resources, and I'm glad I actually
It's
came on
sick.
here today, along with the guys that's on here every week, because I think Mel is a little Bill Belichick. He's been that way all along. So for you to use these Belichick analogies, you know what I'm saying? I see so much of that in Mel, and some of the things that you're telling him now, I be telling him. But it's you today who I feel like put the whole like layer on. You know what I'm saying? Chip. If
Yeah,
Chip
yeah.
understands,
Yeah,
I
it's
really.
good.
Because here's the thing, I do. I'm a pretty known comedian actor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pretty known. You know what I mean? In the millions, probably worldwide, visually. But so over the weekend, I signed an ambassador deal with Live Waves, which gives me the right to sell my content and get 100% of my royalties, and I can sell my content worldwide and do the privacy act that they have.
Mhm.
And they tell you, they always say, Chris, I've been around a long time. So I'm trusting these brothers' knowledge coming launched out. They out of Cleveland. They met me at a show with Joe Torre last week. I had two sold out shows in Cleveland, and they got to see me there. Never knew who I was, but got to see me that day, and it led into a deal. So it means what type of work I put in up there, and I'm glad I was prepared when they came at me with this deal and understanding the importance of content, importance of intellectual property. I'm just glad that through the years I soaked up a lot of the game, and it was from guys like you that I soaked this game up in little pocket spots. You know what I mean? Troy Carter, if you're familiar with Troy Carter.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Troy Carter is my cousin. I don't really mention his name nearly, not ever. You know what I mean? I live on the West Coast. You know what I mean? Probably I go to the house and sleep if I want to, maybe, depending. But so it's good that you came here and shared this with my guys, because for
Yeah.
years I played this little herky jerky game with Mel. He know my hand on something, but he never know exactly what it is. And it's part of that growth, part of watching other cultures because in Philadelphia and a lot of regions, we only dealing with a lot of blacks, a lot of Puerto Ricans, and most Caucasians we do know, if not in the business field, they're on Kensington Beach. You know what I'm saying? To say
Yeah.
so to come here and actually, involve myself deeply around that rich mentality, watching the Jewish, watching the Indian, watching the Armenians, watching that the way they deal with each other within. You know what I'm saying? Master P, my OG, so I learned a
Yeah.
lot of game from him. And today, this was like a big plus for us as a whole with ODAC,
Thank you,
man,
Chris.
for the young brothers on here. You know what I mean? Because we do as a whole have our pulse on certain keys of the city that's deeply involved in community and basically taking out stories from what we were to what we are and what we
Yeah.
always could have become. And I heard you say on here, Chip, you asked, what is the way we can begin to like really spread this to our people in order for them not to pick up these guns and things like that? The best way I know how, and this is by experience that got me here. It led me from a jail cell doing a 7-year sentence for mistaken identity in a 20 years back sentence. I walked it all off, never went back to jail, and I came to
Mm.
Hollywood and pursued my dream because it was all about this. You know what I'm saying? The biggest key is we have to lead by example. You feel what I'm saying? We can't keep worrying about money and worrying about
Come on.
how we gonna get funded. How we gotta be rich within, and that we
Yeah.
got resources. The best I had. We gotta go back to our ancestors when they had no food and they worked with the scraps and they made soul food. We gotta go back to that mentality because I realized in this game, as we put things together and that be our mission and we started to go forth to that mission, other people are just gonna latch on. You understand what I'm saying? And I
This is
think that is the biggest key because a lot of these kids I deal with. I deal with. So I have a little nephew. He 5.7 million followers on Instagram. So he anywhere he goes, there's a problem. Not bad, but problem. And how do we get these kids back off of him? High schools, they love him. You know what I'm saying? and it extends to me. So it's like I know the one thing that these kids ask is how. How did you get the or me, him, or it's how? And it's really by example, the only way. Because by example, it'll open up, okay, where do we bring Chip in at? Because we're as our people, we have to stop being afraid of our ambition, man, because we've been oppressed so long and beating on each other so long that when we go to say that we can accomplish something to try it, man, oh, you're going to need this. I got a lot of friends that say I ain't going to quit until I'm going to get 30,000 here and I'm going to make one more flip. No, that mentality, and I know, and I mean, I hate to say it, but I was successful when I did bad. You understand what I'm saying? So I would know. We got to stop that mentality of being afraid of each other's ambition, man, and really support it. That's how we win. When these kids over here and these families, I know, bro. I'm talking about I deal with a lot of rich people consistently, every day, all day. So it's a level of my mind as a man. They ambition. They're not afraid of each other's ambition.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? They support it, so that's all I gotta say.
Come on, Chris.
Chris.
That was real.
I gotta tell you, man, I appreciate the heart. We're gonna get ready to wind down here, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cordell. My apologies.
So yeah, I appreciate Chris and I appreciate Kev, right? And
Chris, can you mute your phone, Chris? Thank you.
One of the things I've been noticing, Mel, is a running theme is that each person that we have that you have as a guest, when they come on, what we key in on is two words: hustle. We key in on that hustle, right? Whenever it's asked about, how did you get to where you are, everyone has the same response. They had to have that hustle. Chris talked about, keying into our ancestors, understanding what our ancestors had to go through, right? So what I want people to understand when they see this is that these things are innately in us. We're genetically predisposed to having that hustle from birth, right? So I want them to understand that we have that. And for the young guys that's out there, right, that's looking for a different way, that's thinking that, hey, this is the only thing that I could do. You're running corporations, but you're running it like it's small time. You are actually running a corporation out there. Those transferable skills is always what I always go back to, because that's what got me where I am today. And I'm not nowhere near where Kev is or where Chris is, right? But I do rub shoulders each and every week with millionaires. Black millionaires, 22 of them to be exact. Every week I rub shoulders with 22 black millionaires, right? And maybe they didn't come from the background that I come from, but I got access.
Come on.
Right? So I use my transferable skills. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. When I was incarcerated, I kept coming up for parole, right? And when I would go up for parole, I would get shot down. One of the old heads took me in the cell. He said, why do you think you keep getting shot down for parole? I said, I don't know. He said, do me a favor. Tell me what's the last book you read. Tell me what's the last book you read. So I told him, I said, I was reading Donald Goines. Y'all know how it is, Chris. Reading Donald Goines. I was reading this book, that book.
Sorry, bro, but I never read no Donald Goines, none of those techniques. I promise you. I was all education. I'm sorry, though, bro. I'm a freak weirdo.
I get it, man. But here's the key. Like, in school, I was that A+ student. I was an honor roll student all the way up until 9th grade when I decided to hit the streets, right? Star athlete and everything. But when I went to the penitentiary, I adapted to some of the things that was going on there, right? I adapted to what my environment. He said, you're already a social chameleon. You have to be a social chameleon when you go into there. You have to know how to be at the Fortune 500 boardroom, in a Fortune 500 boardroom, how to adapt and talk to them. And you have to know how to go back to your neighborhood and talk to them too, right? So once I understood that, and I started reading some different books on personal self-development, and I started implementing what I was learning from those personal self-development books, understanding the psyche of who I'm sitting in front of, right? Drilling down on knowing me, and then knowing what I'm facing and how people are viewing me. I'm disarming them when I walk in there. So those are the skills that we have to teach these young guys that's out there that's still doing the same thing. We have to teach them transferable skills. You have to learn how to be a social chameleon, because you could walk into any room. If you're a hustler on the streets, right? that same hustle mentality you have, you could walk to any boardroom or any place of business, any Fortune 500 corporation, and get what you need if you use those same skills that you use to recruit this dude in West Philly, this dude in North Philly. See, I was taught, right, we're coming up in my hustle, and when I was hustling out there, they said, hey, lock your neighborhood down first, then you spread out all around the city. And then I went from all around the city, then I started hitting 95. So I know how, that's called networking. So you got to network the same way you have to do. That's how you gain access. And that's what you explain. Chris, that's what you explain. Chris, they grind. Your grind and your hustle is what's going to get you the access. But we have to let these young people know that this is what they need to do. They have to have that grind, that hustle, that mentality.
Love it. Well, guys, I got to tell you, this every week, it just keeps getting better and better. And I can't thank you again, all of you, for being here. You're all our honored guests. Kev, I really appreciate your story. It's inspiring. And I think for each of us, we can take something from it. And John, to you, at 27, 28 years old, I can tell you this confidently, John. I knew Kev when he was 20. And we were just like you. We enjoyed having fun, laughing, going to parties, acting crazy. And I'm saying that so that John, that listen, you can achieve whatever you want. The sky is not the limit. The galaxy, the solar system is where you can get to. And I'm telling you, Kev, it was the same guy as you. And I knew him before he was 26, 27 years old. I knew when he was 20. We all wanted to do what we did. We all were thinking about troop jackets till we saw the Oprah Winfrey thing. We all like to party and have fun. And I'm telling you, the things he's talking to you today are real, man. And you being the youngest guy here, I'm just saying, man, the sky is not the limit for you, man. And the work that you're doing is so at the social forefront of life right now, man. That means you can capitalize on things that no one else can, because you have the ability to talk to some of these folks on the streets that we can't even approach. You got a skill set that's amazing. And I think for the rest of us, we're just getting fuel for our continued passion and fire for what we're doing, whether it be working with the moms that have lost, or whether it be a coach, a social coach, or obviously Chris is in the entertainment field, blowing up and everything. We got to just keep fanning into flames that fire that's within us. And Kev, I can't thank you enough, man. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm inspired by you, man. I want to wear that Mitchell last name now with pride now.
Hey, honestly, you guys really inspire me, seriously. And honestly, what I want to commit to is 2 hours a month. All right. We're going to set up a forum. Anybody on the streets that you need to convert to learn whatever it is, I'll answer any question. I will show them any bit of game. All right. I will show you where to find it. I will commit to that. You bring anybody, I will talk to them and do whatever I can to change our situation. I will do that, man. Cordell, you was dropping some real come on, man. This I seriously, you hit it on the head. I couldn't really articulate that. The social chameleon. And this is the thing. And he just reiterated it. You already have these skills. You have this mentality. If you apply to what you apply to that girl you like, and how you influence her, and how you recruit in the soldiers, and how, it's channeling that aggression and just thinking about situational awareness and how to react and thinking about outcomes and taking steps, I will be committed to do that. Man. If we could save 2 lives, 3 lives, whatever we can do, because it all starts with just self-worth, man, and just understanding that there's nothing you can't do. I mean, we didn't have the internet to find the answers like that. We had to climb 20 stories to the Tower Library. There's no limitation to information access. I gotta be the help. We get something every morning, work out whatever we got to do. But I will answer any question and I will solve any problem. And if I don't have the answer,
let me say this real quick, Cap. I know you mentioned gaming, man, and they wouldn't understand the Jake Pauls and all them in the world, but them guys, for starters, Mel, they sold out. They sold out the forum when I was over here. They in the
my daughter had me following some of that stuff. And they was killing it, bro.
Well, Philly is about to have one of the largest esports conventions here in the next several months.
Yeah, they're
So
building
I
a
want to
facility out
do.
there.
Kev, I want to say, Chris, let me say this real quick to Kev. Number one, thank you. It's not a lot of guys, they move out, they come back to give back, bro. Thank you for keeping it real for God and giving back to the community so other people have a chance to be able to step up. But what this show is about is action items, and we walk away with that. Woo, you call me first thing in the morning, I'm going to get you your space with the moms. All right? Rob and John, I want to make sure I hook y'all up with Chris. Tell Chris about what we're going to do this session with the rap star we're trying to lock down for our city. That's going to come up out of the Level Up, Huddle Up, and that's what we're going to do. So, this is all about not talking about it, but this is about being about it. It's action items. You see real soldiers right here. We yield to Tahira. We have your back. Whatever you need, we know we have your back. We're here with you 100%. But, Kev, thank you for being an ambassador. And I know, a lot of people say, Mel, I don't know what you're talking about God. Bro, you just got used by God to help suffering people. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Well, hey guys, this was a fantastic Level Up, Huddle Up time. I'm so thankful for all of you guys. Kev, thank you once again. But we're in this thing together, and I love all of you. Let's have a great week, and let's stay safe. All right.
All right, Chip, don't
All
forget to call me, Chip. Chip, don't forget to send that email for the mother.
You got it. You
All
got it.
All right. Have a blessed one. See y'all. Y'all have a blessed one. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.